This talk that I'm going to give about the Parkinson's Lifestyle Toolkit is really inspired by the sort of things that I talk about with my patients in the clinic. And what you heard before, some of the things like exercise and the benefits that it can have, we're going to be talking a little bit about that. You'll hear a lot about that today. So let's get started. Okay, these are some of the things that I think could be in a Parkinson's Lifestyle Toolkit, some of the areas that we should be thinking about, and you'll hear a lot more about each of these later in the day. So this is going to be a big overview, right? First of all, we're going to talk about treatment awareness, because I think that if you know more about what you're being treated with, if you understand how it's supposed to work, what it's supposed to do for you, and some of the problems that can be encountered, you're going to be empowered right there. You'll be able to go to your doctor and really partner with them in your care. The second thing we're going to talk about is nutrition, and that's something that we spend a lot of time talking about in my office, how nutrition interacts with medicines and how it can affect your well-being in general, and how it can promote long-term health, including long-term brain health and healthy aging. We're going to talk about exercise, and you saw in the previous video of David Phinney how he was speaking about not only does exercise help you stay limber right now, but it may have really great long-term benefits. Emotional well-being, we're going to speak about because it's so often the case that we don't recognize problems with our emotional well-being. We don't take care of ourselves. None of us do. But it's particularly important in Parkinson's. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the team approach to Parkinson's, how you can put a team of people around you who are going to help you in different ways. No one person can fight this alone. But we know that with a team, with friends, with family, with medical professionals, that it's possible to live a lot better right now. So building a community is really important. And I hope that you're going to find lots of resources today to help you in that. So let's launch right in and talk a little bit about treatment awareness. Parkinson's medicines are just extremely complicated. There was a survey that was done of people with Parkinson's who'd had it for many years, and it was found they were taking an average of 8 or 9 pills a day. So I know I wouldn't be able to manage that reliably day in, day out, and I think it presents a lot of challenges. So you're not alone with that. There are lots of tricks that can be used to get around it, and lots of reminders, lots of strategies that can be taken, and there's certainly a lot more information about that later. The burden, I thought this was interesting in the study, that people who were taking the pills found that the number of pills was a major burden, but actually when they went back and they asked the doctors about what the major burden was, they didn't think that the major problem was the number of pills. So this may be one of those cases, where expectations are a little bit misaligned. So I would encourage everybody, when you're taking your medicine, if you're finding that there are particular doses that you forget or a particular schedule that's really hard to stick with, bring it up, discuss it. Recognize it, discuss it. It's going to help you gain control over your Parkinson's. And the other thing that was found in the same survey is, of course, people find it hard to take medicines on the prescribed schedule. So again, talk with your healthcare team. Try to get things right for you. This is a picture just to remind me that there are so many different medicines that people take to help control their Parkinson's. They work in different ways. Sometimes they're complementary. Sometimes there can be interactions that you have to watch out for. So I think there are a few basics that you should know. A few things that will help you sort of supply that toolkit and flesh out this part of the medication and treatment awareness tool that you have to help you. What are the pros and cons of your medicines? I think you should know what the medicine's going to do for you. Is it reasonable to expect your medicine to help your balance? Is it reasonable to expect it to help your speech? So if you have problems with balance, is it going to be worth increasing your medicine when that medicine may not actually help your balance? All of these good things to discuss with your doctors. The basics of how the medicines work. And I think it's really important to know what are the side effects to look out for. I hate when patients come back to me in my clinic and they've been toughing it out with side effects and kind of not really realizing that this is something that I should have dealt with. This is something that is my fault. I prescribed that medicine for them. So if you know the side effects up front, like nausea, drowsiness, whatever it is, you know what you're going to have to look out for. And if it occurs, you know to raise the alarm. So getting the most from your treatment, I think, involves, and this is what we talk about a lot in my office, finding the best medications and the best timing. And one of the big things in Parkinson's, as I'm sure you know, is that no two people have the same flavor of Parkinson's. So it's all about individualizing your therapy. It's all about getting the treatments that are right for you. Some of the issues that come up when we're trying to finesse the treatment and get it just right for the individual is protein at mealtimes interfering with your medicine. And we'll come back to that in the nutrition section, because I think quite often we miss that. Does the medicine last until the next dose is due? It doesn't seem to be a problem in people who just got Parkinson's, but over the years, the medicine may not last as long. And I'm talking about Sinemet or carbidopa, levodopa, of course. So recognizing if you have these periods in the day where you just feel down, you feel slow, you feel tired, you just don't feel right, that might be the medicine cutting out. Sometimes it's complicated, and keeping a diary can help figure that out. And now, of course, there's a lot of interest in using these new wearable devices that will track your function through the day. And then the other thing, like I said before, some doses hard to remember. I know for a lot of my patients, if they get busy, they go out, they may be having lunch out, they forget to take their medicine with them, and so the lunchtime dose is often a tough one. But there are things you can do. You can have pill boxes with little buzzers on them. You can put reminders on your cell phone. You can have your family remind you. So I'm going to present an action item at the end of each of these 5 sections. And I would say if you take one thing home from this first section about treatment awareness, is just know what you're taking. Just have a list. It's hard to remember everything we have to remember in life. Just have a list. Put it in your purse, put it in your wallet, carry it with you. That way, when you're in your doctor's office, you'll have it right at your fingertips. You don't need to rack your brains and try to remember, these 8 or 9 different pills that you might be taking a day. Okay, so let's move on. Let's change pace a little bit. And I think one of the things that we talk about a lot in my office is nutrition. And you've all heard that saying, you are what you eat. And it's so important what we put into our bodies, it really is. And it turns out that our mothers, of course, were all right. We should eat well, we should eat healthily. And now the science is actually catching up. And there's some really great research in this area. We know that a healthy, balanced diet is important in Parkinson's, and it's important for long-term brain health. There are so many studies that have come out talking about, for example, adhering to a Mediterranean-style diet. It means olive oil, not butter. It means lots of fresh fruit. It means lots of fresh vegetables. It often means a beautiful, colorful food. So I talked about the Mediterranean diet. There are various studies that have looked at this. For example, finding that red peppers and some of the other colorful vegetables that you get are associated with lower risk of Parkinson's. So there's a lot of research right now going on into saying, well, can we translate that into lifestyle changes that can actually help you to do better with the Parkinson's in the long run? And as I said, certain of these foods do seem to be associated not just with lower risk of Parkinson's, less progression, but also with healthy brain aging in general. We're seeing this in many different areas now of healthcare research. But back to some other more practical things. How, in other ways, does your diet affect Parkinson's, and what can you do about it? Well, I think one of the things is we all get busy. We all drink a lot of coffee. Both of those things mean that we don't drink so much water. We don't stay very well hydrated. And staying hydrated is just, it's huge. It's really important. It's important for your general health. In Parkinson's, constipation is just so common, but staying hydrated is going to help overcome that. So that's a really simple thing that people can do just to help their general well-being, help their digestion every day. The other thing is that we've found over the years that it's actually quite common that people with Parkinson's may have lower blood pressure, or they may have the experience of dizziness when they stand up. So they kind of get dizzy on standing because of a drop in blood pressure. But keeping well hydrated is it's like the first line therapy before thinking about any medicine at all. Staying hydrated, getting your water and the juice, of course, it's a really important thing to help keep your blood pressure up. And of course, for those of you who take the Parkinson's medicines, you know that a lot of those medicines will actually make your blood pressure go a little lower. So then the hydration's even more important. Other things that are really simple. I talked about the nice thing with the Mediterranean diets, lots of fresh fruit, lots of fresh vegetables. Well, they give you fiber as well. And fiber in the diet can really help fight against the constipation. So as well as staying hydrated, thinking about fiber, really important thing in terms of the diet. And supplements and vitamins, I get asked a lot in my clinic what people should take. We're going to come back to this in just a second. I think that we've been through phases in terms of treating Parkinson's where people have thought, when I was training, for example, we thought that it was good to take really high-dose vitamin E. And then, of course, when it was tested, it really didn't pan out. As I moved into doing more recent research, we thought it was important to take coenzyme Q10 at mega doses. And of course, when we tested it, it didn't pan out. So I think in my clinic, a lot of people take a multivitamin for their general health. I think that's important. But one thing I did want to bring up, in recent studies, there have been 2 vitamins that come up over and over again. And it seems that people with Parkinson's have a little bit higher risk of being low in vitamin D, which is important for bone health, and low in vitamin B12, which is important for the brain, for the nerves, and for the blood cells. So those are 2 maybe to watch out for. And a lot of our internists are now routinely testing patients for their blood levels of vitamin B12 and vitamin D. Levodopa. So for people who take carbidopa, levodopa, or Sinemet, or Stalevo, that's the other way that you get it. It's absorbed in the small intestine, and there's this lovely, very nice breakfast time picture of someone's digestive tract right here. But you can see the small intestine labeled right there. That's where the levodopa actually has to get into the body, get absorbed into the bloodstream before it can go up to the brain and can act. The problem is, if you have a high protein meal right before you get your levodopa, the protein or the amino acids in the protein can actually interfere with the absorption of levodopa. And I think that's why in my clinic, I hear from so many people that their lunchtime dose of medicine is oftentimes the one that's less effective. Maybe they've had, a chicken sandwich or something for lunch. So I'm not saying cut down on protein, but just be aware of that possible interaction if you're someone who's having a little bit of trouble with the medicine and having it be unpredictable. It might be predictable. There might actually be a reason for it. I think one of the last things I wanted to talk about in terms of the nutrition is we all know that it's bad to be overweight, but I think it's also important in Parkinson's to realize that you can lose weight because of the Parkinson's. And excessive weight loss is not healthy. Parkinson's can cause loss of appetite. Some of my patients actually feel full before they've really eaten very much. And it's probably because of a direct effect of Parkinson's on the stomach. And things are not just, the food is hanging around a little too long. So they feel full, they're not eating as much. So that's one thing. Some people lose their appetite. They don't, some of my patients don't smell the food as well. So that can add up to weight loss. So it's common in Parkinson's, and it's not really great for health. Being underweight, being very underweight can be as bad as being overweight. So I think a lot of what we do in my clinic, again, is we just keep an eye on people's weight and we talk about what they're eating. And you remember I said about the vitamin D is so important for bone health. So I think attention to vitamin D, keep an eye on your bone health, but exercise as well. You see how you're going to hear these related themes coming back over and over again. So exercise can improve bone health. And healthy bones are really, really just so incredibly important as we get older. So I'm going to say action item number 2 for the nutrition is fresh fruit, fresh veg every day. It's delicious, it's good for you, it's good for your brain. Helps promote healthy brain aging. Now, one of the things that this day is going to bring up over and over again, we already moved, right? We already got to stretch and breathe and move around. So there's going to be a lot more of that. But exercise is really such a big thing in terms of combating the effects of Parkinson's. It helps with physical function, it helps with mental well-being, it helps with emotional well-being. We know it basically does it all, right? It improves your movement, it improves balance and posture. And sometimes that's not so easy to treat with medicines alone. You know, there's research now that suggests that exercise is actually neuroprotective. And I think that's something really interesting. We know it helps our muscles, we know it helps the joints. We think it helps re-network in the brain, actually. But one of the really interesting things is that exercise, there's some evidence that it actually changes the way that your DNA, your genetic material, is expressed in the brain. And it may help to augment, to boost neuroprotective factors. These are natural factors in the brain that protect the nerve cells. So I think that's a really, really exciting area of research. We don't know what type of exercise is best. I think it's different for everyone. I work with a dance class, the Dance for Parkinson Disease group, who are out in Brooklyn. And a lot of my patients have absolutely loved those dance classes. The horrible form in the cyclist at the bottom is me, coasting downhill, which is what I like to do in the Galapagos. But studies have shown benefit for so many different types of exercise. So I think it's really important to pick something you like, pick something you'll do, pick something that's fun, something that really engages you. So cycling, resistance training, Tai Chi, dance, so many more things. And you're going to be hearing more about yoga and voice exercises and all these interventions that are incredibly helpful and really fun. I just chose one example because this has been quite well studied now. Tai Chi. I tried that and I found it quite difficult. So for anyone in the room who is expert in that, I commend you. But it does improve balance. It improves people's fall risk, meaning that they're less likely to fall. That was found in one study that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, one of our top journals. And it also, in the same study, improved people's function on a lot of the rating scales that we use in our clinic. There's another recent study just saying, looking at what people who did the Tai Chi, thought about it. And they thought it was positive. So they supported what the scientists had found with their measures. And also, here's one of the important things, they would continue with it. So exercise that's sporadic, well, it's better than nothing. But consistency, I think, is a really big thing with exercise. So I would say, just go do it. Go do anything that you like, anything that you enjoy. And I just made a list here. Breathing is good. Deep breathing is great. Stretching, relaxing, walking, pedaling, dancing. Singing, rowing is fun. Running, skipping. Doesn't matter how you do it. I put upside down, right side up. That's a nod to my yoga friends. And I think exercising the brain is good as well. So talking, socializing, playing music. And the other thing I think is really important with the exercise is when you've done it, give yourself a treat, have a nice rest. And they have these beautiful animals, these beautiful sea lions who know how to rest. We're not always very good at resting as human beings, so the animals can teach us a little bit about that. These are some of the things that I think we should all look out for, and this is more or less a list of the list that I run in clinic. Are people having insomnia? Are they having sleep problems? And I'll come back to the sleep in a second. What about mood? You feeling down, depressed? How bad is that? Because we can do something about that. If we recognize it, we can do something about it. And what about anxiety? The same thing. That's a tough one to cope with, but it can be treated. One of the things that comes up over and over again, and it's common that this happens as a side effect of medicines in Parkinson's, especially when you're taking several different medicines at a time. Hallucinations, they can be distracting. They can make you look distracted to people around you. So if you get anything like that, that's a big thing to report to your doctor. And that harks back to knowing the side effects of your medicines, knowing how your medicines are working. Changes in behavior. This is a tough one because we all have our behavioral quirks. Sometimes it's hard to recognize when the quirk isn't a quirk and it's a medicine side effect. One of the prime examples that came up in the last few years is people who get these kind of compulsive symptoms with the dopamine agonists. And memory problems or confusion, these can be medicine side effects, they can be part of the Parkinson's, but if we recognize it, we can do something about it. Parkinson's just affects sleep in so many different ways. It can cause restless leg syndrome, where you get this uncomfortable feeling just as you want to go to sleep. It can cause REM sleep behavior disorder, which means you act out your dreams. You might shout and seem like you're having nightmares. It's very treatable if we recognize it. Some people don't sleep because their medicine's not working at night. It cuts out on them and they end up stiff and feeling tremors. Or it may be that the Parkinson's has affected the bladder and you have to keep getting up to go to the bathroom. So there are all these ways that Parkinson's affects sleep. It's actually really complicated, and I think this is part of where putting a team together can be helpful medically. We have a sleep center. A lot of places have sleep centers, and they really help us when the sleep problems are getting in the way of your quality of mood changes. I'll just speak to you very, very briefly because you're going to hear more about this, but it's so important. I think if you hear it twice, it's not a bad thing. Parkinson's can affect mood, and I think we don't always recognize that lack of energy, poor appetite, feeling irritable, we don't always recognize that as depression, but it can be a sign of depression. And problems sleeping as well, waking up early in the morning, ruminating, worrying at night. There might be anxiety rolled in, but these can all be part of the unseen symptoms of Parkinson's disease. And I think the first step forward is really name it, recognize it for what it is, something that can be helped. And a lot of studies have proven that it doesn't have to be medicines. Sometimes talking therapy, and sometimes just rearranging your lifestyle, making some changes at bedtime to help with sleep can be really helpful. So the action item for emotional well-being, I said, is just be open. Be open to identifying and treating depression or the other non-motor symptoms. I think there's a tendency that we have to deny that we're vulnerable to these things, and so just recognizing is the first step. And then the final section I want to come to is, what about your team? I just mentioned building up a medical team, but it's so much more than a medical team. You need a team around you. You need a community. It's going to be family, friends, people who take care of you, healthcare workers, and anyone, everyone can be part of your team. A lot of these are well established. You're already thinking about these. You already have these on your team. Your doctors, nurses, speech therapists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, social workers. A lot of my patients find they get great benefit from what we still call complementary therapies. Great help from those. Massage, for example, really helping stiff muscles, and acupuncture. A lot of my patients really benefit from that. And then your team, if you do get involved in the surgery, is obviously going to expand to have the whole neurosurgical team on your side. So these are some of the people to think about in terms of your medical team, but I really wanted to highlight just in the last minute or two the importance of relationships and the importance of community. The next thing I wanted to mention, though, relationships are really important for health, and there's a great research literature on this. There was a paper of over 300,000 people, and they found decreased mortality in people who had really strong relationships, so there's something going on there. And we know that quality relationships can help reduce depression as well. So the number of your relationships, the quality of your relationships, staying close with family, socializing, getting out, staying active, it's all really important. It all really adds up. So I put your team on your side, and I think the big thing is to get your team working with you. Your medical team is going to have a wide range of specialists. Your social team will support you, and I think it's really important that when you've got people who love you around you, you let them know what they can help you out with. Doesn't have to be everyone at once. You can pick and choose. So I said action item 5, your team, your community. I think staying in touch socially, keeping that web of friends, keeping that web of family, staying close, really important, and keeping an open mind and seeing what's best for you, getting people on your team to help you get what's best for you. So just to summarize then in the last minute, I hope I've convinced you that getting the right tools in your toolkit is going to be really empowering. And learning more about Parkinson's, I really feel that education is key in this. The more you know, the better you can partner with your medical team, and the better you can partner with your social team as well. Let them know what's going on and what you need. So I'm hoping that today you're going to get some really good information to empower you with your Parkinson's. So, action items for the Parkinson's Toolkit. First, number 1, know your medicine, keep an updated list with you. This harks back to all of this that I said about understanding your treatment. Second, eat healthy, fresh fruits, fresh veg every day. It's going to do your brain a favor. And third, most important, exercise. Walk, stretch, bike, dance, play, whatever. Do whatever you enjoy, but have fun doing it. Be aggressive and open-minded in identifying the non-motor problems, the non-movement problems of Parkinson's. And then finally, I just wanted to say, keep an open mind. No one is like the next person with Parkinson's. See what's best for you. So I'm going to stop right there. Thanks for your attention. Thanks to Davis Phinney Foundation, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.